Have you ever tried to imagine a world without money? I mean, really think about it. No banks, no debt, no billionaires. Instead, you've got an economy that's powered entirely by what you contribute, and it's all managed by a super fair and transparent AI. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, it's actually the core idea of a new white paper that's proposing something called the Global Contribution Credit System. So today, let's dive in and really unpack this potentially world-changing concept. All right, so here's our game plan. To really get our heads around this, first we've got to look at why our current system is even considered to be in crisis. Then we'll explore the whole philosophy behind a contribution-based economy. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how this thing would actually work. Then comes the fun part, the promised benefits. And finally, we'll get real and look at the massive hurdles to ever making this a reality. So, to understand why anyone would propose such a radical, sweeping change, we first have to look at the problems it's trying to solve. What are the cracks in the foundation of the economic system we all live in right now? Let's just start with this number and let it sink in for a second. The white paper highlights that by 2025, we're looking at a global debt of $300 trillion. I mean, that's a number so huge, it's almost meaningless, right? It's way, way more than the entire world's economic output. The argument is that we've built a system that's inherently unstable because it's built on borrowing. And that instability, well, it leads directly to this. It's just staggering. Less than 1% of the world's population now owns more than half of all the assets. The source argues that our current model isn't just allowing this to happen, it's practically a powerful engine designed for concentrating wealth, leaving almost everyone else with a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. Now, the crucial point the paper makes is that these aren't just separate, random problems. They're all symptoms of the same core issue. We have a system that fundamentally rewards just hoarding stuff rather than actually creating real value. It encourages speculation that has nothing to do with real goods or services. It completely ignores the damage it does to our planet. And, maybe the most urgent threat of all, it's a system that's starting to crumble under the rise of automation, which puts the entire idea of earning a living at risk. So, faced with all that, this proposal doesn't just suggest a few tweaks here and there. Nope, it's a complete philosophical 180. It's not about fixing the old system. It's about totally redefining what we as a society consider valuable in the first place. And this is really the one question that sits at the very heart of this entire concept. It asks us to just flip our entire economic worldview upside down. Instead of measuring success by how much we can accumulate, what if we measured it by the positive impact we have on the world and on each other? And here you have it, the core principle in the author's own words. This is a direct challenge to our consumer culture, to the idea that your worth is somehow tied to what you can buy. The focus here shifts completely to service, to creativity, and to benefiting society. Okay, so what exactly is the GCCS? Let's break it down. Think of it like a global, transparent ledger that's managed by a fair AI. When you do something valuable, like teaching kids, inventing new tech, or cleaning up a river, the system verifies it and issues you credit points. You use these points to get goods and services. But here's the absolute key. You can't speculate with them or just hoard them forever. And that one design choice changes the entire game. The goal isn't to accumulate static wealth anymore. It's to participate in a dynamic flow of giving and receiving. Okay, so that's the big, grand idea. But how would it actually work, day to day? Let's get into the mechanics, the architecture of this proposed new economy. The process is really broken down into 4 core steps. First, you've got a secure digital ID that's basically a verified catalog of your skills and experience. Second, when you contribute something, an AI working alongside human peer reviewers assesses the impact and value of what you did. Third, based on that evaluation, you're automatically issued credit points. And finally, you use those credits to get the goods and services you need. It's a really clean, direct loop from contribution to reward. But this isn't just about the mechanics. It's also built on a really clear ethical framework. You can think of these as the 5 core principles of the whole system. It values giving over having. It makes sure everything is transparent and can be audited by anyone. It guarantees equal access for every single person. And this is huge. It builds sustainability right into the definition of value. And finally, it uses technology to govern fairly, trying to get rid of the human biases that can mess things up. And let's be super clear about the role of the AI here, because it's a major point and I know what you're probably thinking. The white paper is adamant that this is not a Skynet situation. The AI isn't an overlord. Its job is to be an impartial tool, an auditor, an economist that works for humanity to ensure fairness and efficiency. It's a servant, not a master. So, if a system like this could actually be built, what kind of world would we be living in? The authors lay out a pretty bold and frankly optimistic vision for what that future could look like. This comparison just makes the difference crystal clear. You're moving from a system that rewards hoarding to one that rewards contribution. You're replacing an economy built on a mountain of debt with one based on credits you've actually earned. And you're shifting from a system that naturally leads to inequality to one that's designed from the ground up to aim for equity. The promised advantages are, well, they're profound. By its very design, it would aim to eliminate poverty and debt. Just think about that for a second. What would society look like if pursuing a new idea, or art, or education didn't come with the risk of financial ruin? It's meant to be a true meritocracy where your effort and talent matter more than who you know or where you were born. It could create global equity, bring us into balance with our planet, and drive innovation that's based on purpose, not just profit. And all of it within a system built on transparency and trust. Of course, building an economic utopia is, well, it's easier said than done, right? And the white paper absolutely acknowledges this. It dedicates a lot of space to the practical challenges and lays out a potential path forward. And this isn't envisioned as some kind of overnight revolution. The roadmap is really gradual. It starts with small pilot programs and communities that actually volunteer to try it out. Then it would scale up to regions and nations over a decade or more, eventually leading to a globally synchronized system. The authors are also really realistic about the hurdles. How do you deal with resistance from the current financial powers that be? The strategy is gradual coexistence. How do you even define what a contribution is worth? By using a smart hybrid of AI analysis and human peer review. They propose clear strategies for the biggest challenges, from cybersecurity to the sheer logistics of the transition itself. And this part is absolutely crucial. Ethical guardrails are designed into the system from the very beginning. This includes things like protocols to guarantee data privacy, regular human audits of the AI to make sure it's being fair, adjusting the value metrics to respect different cultures, and making participation completely voluntary during that long transition phase. So ultimately, this is about way more than just economics. The grand vision here is to create a system where our way of exchanging goods and services actually reflects our best values. A system where our economy literally helps us evolve morally as a species. And this quote just beautifully sums up that new paradigm. Wealth is no longer about what you have stored away, it's about your capacity to make a positive difference in the lives of other people and for the planet. Look, it's a radical, incredibly ambitious, and maybe even idealistic vision, but it forces us to ask a really powerful question. Whether it's this exact model or something totally different, what could our world look like if we decided to measure our success not by what we take, but by what we give? It's definitely something to think about.